Hi, I'm Mike Steven, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about bike frames and a few other little things, but mostly about bike frames. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over the anatomy of the bike frame. A lot of times when you're talking to a technician, when you bring your bike in to get serviced, you don't know what the tubes are called. Well, I'll give you a quick lowdown on the tubes. This is called the top tube. It's on the top of the bike, easy to remember. Head tube, right on the front of the bike. Down tube, heads down. Seat tube is the one that the seat post goes into. Seat stays, the one that's the stays that are closest to the seat. Chain stays, the stays that are closest to the chain. So those are the basic tubes of the bike. Another thing that's commonly said wrong is people call shocks. Well, these are forks on the front of the bike. This is a shock on the back of the bike. So when you're talking about the front end of your bike, you want to talk about the fork. When you're talking about the back end of the bike, you want to be talking about a shock. So that's a little bit of terminology that'll just help you out, and it's going to lead into what we'll show you here. So you go to your local bike shop and you end up spending your life savings on your most amazing bike that you've always dreamed of. And what we're going to show you today is there's some ways that you can help protect that bike and help it stay of a higher value for resale, or just stay prettier for you to enjoy the look of it. So this happens to be a carbon fiber bike, and carbon fiber, if it's hit hard enough, if it's scraped along, it will go right through the paint, which is on the outside. There's a clear coat, then there's a paint, and then there's carbon fiber sitting underneath it. So the first thing that you need to do when you're going to put like what's called a wrap on your bike or frame protection on your bike, the first thing you need to do is get it totally clean. And for example, this is not clean. This looks clean, but it's got fingerprints all over it. This stuff is like stickers. So you want to do the same prep that you do for sticking a sticker on something that you wanted it to stay for a long time. So my recommendation is first wash the bike. Next up to bat, wipe the bike down in all areas that you're planning on putting the frame wrap on with 99% isopropyl alcohol. 99% isopropyl will leave no residue. There's lots of cleaners that'll leave a residue on the frame. 99% isopropyl won't. I believe you can get it most of the time at your drugstores, actually, the 99% stuff. So first you're going to clean down the spots. For example, this is kind of a neat kit. It's a universal kit, and I'll explain the difference between universal and the custom kits that you can get. So this is a universal kit so that you could put this, say the big Tiger guy, where I like to put that personally on my bikes is I put it on the top here, where my shorts and stuff are going to drag and scuff, and potentially you could get a lay down in this area here. So I'm going to put it along the top there. You got your various seat stays, chain stay kind of points, so to put it along the flats. Again, you're looking for anywhere where the bike might impact the ground. A few things to think about is you've got handlebars. Your handlebars sit quite far out, and if your handlebars aren't sticking out, if you're turned sideways, your wheel is sticking out. So that protects a lot of this area of the bike. Your pedals sticking out protect a lot of those areas if the bike happens to lay down or fall down or you crash. But even within those scenarios, there's jagged rocks that could be sticking up to get those areas, and that's where frame protection comes in. So you're able to stick this in various places on the bike to protect the frame. Another really common place to put frame protection is on the down tube right in here. This bike, for example, is coming with a rubberized kind of frame guard here. Another common place is right here. And the reason why is because a lot of bike racks, you probably have seen people with bikes slung over a tailgate. Well, when you sling a bike over a tailgate, it puts quite a bit of pressure on this area of the bike right here. So it'll scuff and rub the paint as you rattle on down the road or up a forestry road or wherever you're headed. There's specific kits to put on your forks. So you can actually put clear kits over top of your forks so that you can keep those guys looking nice. Because what happens is when you put the bike over the tailgate pad, one side is rubbing on the tailgate pad. And as much as we all like to think we keep our tailgate gate pads clean, there's just a little bit of abrasion in there and it can cause some rub and damage. This one right here is kind of a unique design, and it's for one of the places that you hit the bike the most, and it's your chainstay. So if you look at the chainstay right here, as you're bumping down the trail, this chain is doing this. Believe it or not, you'll see your chain go as low as that. If you look at slow motion footage of a bike going through a lot of bumps. So this hitting on here is just clacking the whole time. A lot of bikes are coming with a seat stay protector. If your seat stay protector, or sorry, chain stay, your chain stay protector, if your bike doesn't come with one, there's aftermarket ones to put on. You can see they've got really cushy little bumps here to be absorbing the impact of that. So A, it's quiet, and B, it's protecting the carbon. If you look at the back here, you can kind of see it's like a 3M material that you just stick it on. Again, the biggest part of doing this stuff is prepping. I'd say the next biggest thing about it is taking your time, taking your time to place it. And when you're putting something on, whether it be a big one like this, is starting from the middle and laying it down and then pushing to the outside to get rid of all the air bubbles out of it so that it looks nice. Like for example, this one, it's all clear, so that you get your tiger face here, and it's all clear behind that. So that if you leave lots of air bubbles in there, you're gonna see it. Whereas if you kind of start from the center, work to the outside, and just take your time. Do one at a time and take your time, and it'll end up looking great. Another thing that I talked about or touched on briefly was the custom wraps. Believe it or not, there's companies out there that specialize in doing this because bike frames are quite expensive these days. And you can get a full wrap for your bike. So you can go and type in your bike, what size it is, and it comes with everything pre-cut and sized to your bike so you can wrap every part of your bike. And again, wrapping it, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll ride their bike for 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and when they're gonna upgrade to their next bike, they'll pull all the frame wrap off and it looks like a brand new bike underneath. So it can really boost the value of your bike. It can make it look a lot better and keep it in better shape. Another thing that really helps, believe it or not, is polish. And where you really notice this is in the motocross world. All the plastics on motorbikes, they're always so shiny and clean looking. They get covered in mud in the motocross track and then they just hose them down and all the mud falls off. The reason why the mud falls off is because they're putting a polish on the plastics. In this case, it would be on the frame. So if you keep your frame coated in this, so after you wash your bike, you put this stuff on, it's like a shine or a polish, it just makes the mud shed off it that much easier to keep your bike looking good. And anytime that you have grime on your bike, it can get rubbed. A really common rub point is, for example, your cranks. If you look at your cranks when you get home, chances are you're gonna see that your shoe rubs on here constantly and you're gonna see through to some metal. Again, you can put some of that frame protector on there and it can keep that looking good. Another way that you can protect your frame is with a fender. A lot of people think of fenders as just tools to stop the mud and rain and water and whatever else from coming off your wheel into your eye or up your back. But if you put fenders on front or back, they're going to help protect from the rocks flinging up into the frame. I'd say that this is a very common front fender because it's very pliable, it's very small, doesn't get in the way, it's very flexible so that it can stand up to some rugged abuse. It can also stand up to those rocks constantly coming up through the tires and hitting it, and it deflects it down instead of onto the bicycle. Another area that bikes get rub points in that you might want to think about protecting is right up here near the cables. Because when you're turning your handlebars and such, I'll move this out of the way so you can see a little better. But right here on the frame, as you're rattling down the trail, you're going to get some rub points here from the cables. So you can just put some little clear patches there and that'll protect your frame in those areas. You know what, you're not going to be able to make your bike look perfect, but you're going to keep it looking pretty good. A couple of little things I'll go over while we're talking about frames is some of the mounting surfaces that are on frames. For example, right here, these 2 bolts here, and then there's 2 more bolts up here. They're called water bottle mounts. Water bottles have the same spacing, basically designed to work with these holes. So all bike bottle cages have this exact same spacing so that you can put a water bottle cage on there. You could put a growler cage on there. This is a bigger one. On bike packing bikes, up on the front fork, a lot of times bike packing bikes don't have a suspension fork. They just have a regular fork, and these guys can be mounted here as well onto mount points on there on the fork. So those are a few places where you can mount various things, anywhere from water to potentially some tools to storage bags. Again, if you don't have mount points for storage bags on the frame, you can get aftermarket bags that kind of fit nicely into the tubes of the bike, and yeah, they help protect it a bit. But again, watch those areas that you're wrapping the tube with, because if a little bit of dust gets in there and stuff, it's going to chafe it. So a lot of times people will wrap the spots that are going around their frame just to keep that paint looking good. Those are some of my tips and tricks on kind of keeping your bike looking new and hopefully getting you a bit better resale value out of it when you're finished with it, or just keeping it looking pretty. If you have any questions about products to kind of take care of your bicycle, pop into your local bike shop. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out. And get out there, ride, have fun, and enjoy. This has been Gear Up. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike Stevens.